WrestleMania weekend has come and gone, and judging by the fan base, no one can agree on anything. So let's see if the three of us are any better. We'll also get into the Raw after WrestleMania with new faces, new feuds, and a good old-fashioned dose of bloodline drama thrown in. But first, overall thoughts. How was your WrestleMania, guys?
It's hard to differentiate between the two because obviously WrestleMania is a weekend product these days. Night 2 was far and away the best night of the two. And it felt like WrestleMania. I walked away from that going, that felt like a WrestleMania pay-per-view. I also learned the hard way from night 1 that it actually helps to find something to do for half an hour so you can stick it on pause. And that's exactly what I did. I stuck it on pause. I went and did the washing up of all things. And, I come back and I was able to skip portions of the ad breaks, and it actually worked in my favor in regards to sort of having a nice flow of it. I enjoyed the Hulk Hogan documentary on Saturday. It was
apparently quite a lot of it aired during those breaks. I didn't watch. Did you watch it live? I presume from what you're saying, you
yeah. I don't know what the end meant with Cody and Randy, but
we'll get there, I'm sure.
Saturday was fine. It didn't wow me. It didn't feel right, and the pacing of it with all the ad breaks was just off as well. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm walking away from Mania feeling satisfied, and a lot of the heavy lifting of that comes from night 2, I think.
Kind of a we got there in the end kind of feeling, perhaps. Yeah, Sanjay, how was your viewing experience? Did you watch it live yourself?
So no, I didn't watch it live, but I watched it the next day. So I didn't have a problem with the ad breaks. What I've been hearing on social media is mad. I really enjoyed WrestleMania, but I agree with Daniel. Night 1 kind of felt like Backlash or another pay-per-view. It didn't have that WrestleMania feel, but night 2 was 100% WrestleMania from the start to the end. It was just amazing. I think night 1 as well, they were great matches. It was just, I don't know what it was, that magical Mania moments. I didn't really feel much in night 1.
I think a lot of it come down to match timings. Like night 2 had the match timings. The main event went as long as it did. But even the ladder match went an appropriate amount of time.
Yeah.
With Ober and Brock, you kind of expected 5-6 minutes or whatever it was. So that was fine. And then, strangely, the only other match that should have got around that time actually got about 12-13 minutes, and that was Finn and Dom. And you're like, that could have been a squash, and you could have given that time to Jade and Rhea, who I thought were on their way to having a good match. The match times were a massive detriment on night 1.
Yeah, I've got them in front of me here. So there were 4 matches on night 1 that went less than 10 minutes. And on night 2, only 2 of the matches went sort of sub 10 minutes. And yeah, I agree. Echo both of your thoughts there. I thought night 1 was something off. And I saw some discourse online. This is sort of between night 1 and night 2, where people were saying, well, that was the worst night of WrestleMania I've ever seen. And I don't think it got anywhere near that. Like we've seen some times as long-term wrestling fans. It wasn't great. I kind of take your point there, Sanjay, that it felt a bit more like a B-level pay-per-view kind of atmosphere. There was just something not quite clicking there. And I didn't watch live. I tried desperately to stay spoiler-free as I had to go to work and try to not look at social media at all until I got home. So I didn't have to suffer through the washing up, Daniel, as you did. But there was still an inordinate number of ad breaks. And I thought the placement of the ad breaks in particular was really frustrating as a viewer. So I guess, I think we're going to start at the end, if that makes sense. We're going to start with the main event, which I think was aside from Brock and Ober, which I'm sure we'll circle back to, I think this was the biggest match of the weekend, and it felt massive, was the night 2 main event of Roman Reigns and CM Punk. Roman Reigns getting the win after about just under 34 minutes, which is by far and away the longest match of the weekend. But I had a great time watching this match. I got a couple of minor complaints about it, but in the grand scheme of things, they're so minor. I'll just before I throw to you for your thoughts on the match itself, I'll say that last week we all predicted every single match of the weekend. I got 10 predictions right. I'm just saying you two, trailed off with I think 8 and 7. And yes, I did count. But the reason I bring that up now is that Sanjay, you were the only one of us, I think, who predicted Roman Reigns to win. So you must be feeling pretty delighted with how that main event went.
I just think that match was just incredible. I loved it. I got nothing bad to say about the match. CM Punk did so good. Roman Reigns just being in his zone, and I'm so glad there was no interference. There was literally nothing. There was a DQ, which some people said should have been with the steel steps, but if you do go back in time and you watch some of Roman Reigns' matches when he was champion, there have been times where he kind of used a weapon or something and there wasn't any DQ at the time. So I'm just thinking back to, the good old days when he was reigning champion. I'm just thinking, yeah, it's all right. It's Tribal Chief, let him do it. But what an amazing match.
Tribal Chief gets a pass, right?
Yeah.
Man, I know it's too soon to say, but this will go down as one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. I think it could even be one. Like, already I've got massive praise for it. It was just really wonderful storytelling throughout the whole match. It was everything that I thought Gunther and Seth would be, and we'll get to that match a little bit later. But this was just wonderful, and it really cemented the fact that I think CM Punk has always been a fantastic wrestler, but since his return, I feel like he's just been on another level. And I'm not talking just WWE as well. His work with MJF has, in particular, and Eddie Kingston. His work with Seth Rollins, definitely his work with Drew McIntyre has just been exceptional. And I feel like this, particularly being the Mania main event, was just the cherry on top. It was phenomenal. I don't think you could heap enough praise upon this match. Once the dust has settled a little bit more, I think we'll truly come to appreciate it for just how amazing it really was. Just to your point, Iain, sorry to backtrack a little bit. I actually did look at the predictions as well.
Yeah.
Sanjay, I did find out, had the most unique answers, whereas you didn't.
Unique
but you
or
got
not.
your predictions right.
Unique or not. Yeah, you don't always have to rely on WWE being unique. Sanjay's just too out there maybe for WWE sticking to the middle of the road. I don't know.
Maybe.
But...
I was terrible. A little bit butthurt.
No, it was when Royce Keys won the Andre and I was like, boom, 1-0.
Yeah.
But yeah, I echo what both of you said. I thought it was an incredible match, an incredible spectacle. And I think that what makes it so much so, and I think you're right that we'll remember this as one of the top WrestleMania main events of all time, is, as you said, Sanjay, you loved that there was no interference. And I think that is a credit to Punk and Roman both, that they went out there and told this story one-on-one. And that was Punk's big thing against Roman in the build-up, was you can't do anything without your cousins. That's been proved wrong. Roman's big thing was, well, you're old. That was proved wrong because Punk went 34 minutes just about and looked in amazing shape. And this was maybe one of the times, I think there's been a couple of times in Punk's recent big matches where I haven't quite been able to tell whether he's selling exhaustion or whether actually he's really exhausted and his body is maybe failing him, which is a mark of how good he is at storytelling. But this was an event where I just thought, yeah, this is full on selling exhaustion. I don't know if you've seen the clips of him after WrestleMania was going off the air, where he's getting up and stumbling over things and blaming production staff for not moving the announce table. He's having the time of his life. Like, he's selling the exhaustion of it all, but you just think, yeah, he fought like that was the match of his life. And I did say I had a couple of complaints. Sanjay, you hit on one there. I spent about 5 minutes being a bit of a grumpy arse, really, because of that stare spot. Not because of the spot itself, but I just thought it was unnecessary. Either do the spot and have it announced beforehand that this is a no DQ match, then you maybe subvert the expectation even more, that everyone thinks, oh, here come the Usos, here come the Bloodline. It's then even more powerful that it's just a pure one-on-one affair. But it just baffled me that decision was made right in front of the referee, and the commentators kind of went, oh yeah, but it's the main event of WrestleMania, isn't it? And I just kind of thought, you didn't need to do that. Even I remembered, was The Rock in a tag, when he was in the tag match with Roman, and the ref started counting him out, and he said, no, I'll fire you if you count me out. And that was all that needed to be like, okay, this match has now changed into something else. And I just thought it didn't need to be a moment that frustrated me. I know I'm not the only one, and I know it's a little OCD. But I just, that frustrated me. But the other biggest thing, and this was a really big thing, the advertising again. So we do video packages like I think nobody else. The package they put together for the history of this feud was incredible. And so they did the video package, cuts to the stadium, and you think, okay, here comes Roman's music. No, now we're getting an advert for some. I can't even remember what the advert was. I think it was the weird cheesy one with the Usos beatboxing, and I was like,
oh yeah,
the fuck is this doing here? Like, you've just done all of this build up, and I hate the adverts, but I understand the world in which we live, right? These adverts are here to stay whether we like it or not. Especially, it's like the Super Bowl, like halftime adverts and stuff. Companies are paying millions of dollars to advertise. But surely to God, you could put that before you do the video package so that we get then that through line of this is huge and now here they are. It just really pissed me off that these ads were like infecting the main event of the show. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought CM Punk as well on Raw the night after WrestleMania, a second Raw in a row where he cut this really truthful promo. There wasn't any like over the top pipe bombness to it, which I love, but this was really down to earth CM Punk just saying, yeah, I've suffered a lot and I'll be back and I'll be ready. And I thought the tease with him and Cody was incredible, but I'm maybe getting slightly off topic there.
Again, I just really wonderful match. When I was watching it, and the exhaustion from Punk in particular reminded me of something very un-WWE-ish. Like the one that stands out in my mind, the Okada and Kenny matches from New Japan. But I think it was the second one, the time limit draw. And again, it's just this exhaustion. You don't get it in WWE, but rarely do the matches warrant or go long enough for you to really start feeling it. Jesus, you felt it on this one. And yeah, it come down again to selling as well. We don't get a lot of selling these days. And I feel like Punk just did that extremely well. Yeah, I saw the promo from Punk as well. I'm kind of hoping Punk has a couple of months away just to let this sit a little bit. But yeah, like I'm interested to see what he does when he comes back, if it's Cody or, I know again we're jumping ahead a bit, but yeah, I feel like for me I'm interested to see what both men do now.
So speaking of what both men are doing next, Roman closed the show on Raw with what I thought was a fairly by the numbers Bloodline nostalgia trip promo before he got interrupted by one of the higher points of night one of WrestleMania, that being Jacob Fatu, who came out and refused to acknowledge him, challenged him for Backlash. Hasn't been made official yet because they seem to be eking it out for one more week for reasons, but it seems like Jacob is up next. Let's just touch on him and Drew from WrestleMania first before we circle back to Jacob versus Roman. I liked and didn't like this match, this unsanctioned match at the same time. I thought they did their best with what they were given. It's just unfortunate that they weren't given very much. I thought the placement of their unsanctioned match being on that first hour meant that they were probably told pretty firmly, right, you're not doing blood, you're not doing real unhinged violence, you're just going to have a fairly standard street fight / no holds barred match. What they did, I really enjoyed, but I just felt a bit like we touched on a week or two ago, that the word unsanctioned paints a picture that didn't come to fruition on Saturday night. But the right winner, I think Jacob Fatu's a star if they play him right.
I think the disappointing thing is that I had such high hopes for this match. I genuinely thought this could be a weekend contender. And yeah, it was in that regard quite a letdown, which is a shame. I feel like both men could have an extraordinary match. But I don't know, it just seemed like I mentioned last week that I thought Jacob and Drew would get the bells and whistles. It doesn't feel like they got any of that. And then they were hindered by the time as well. It just didn't feel long enough for them to tell a story. And it didn't feel violent enough to warrant a general street fight / no DQ, let alone an unsanctioned match. Yeah, I'd say it was fine, but disappointing nonetheless. And I do think it was the right winner, particularly when you consider what we saw the night after, or 2 nights after, sorry.
Well, I think we all speak the same. This feud was just, there was so much going on. It was just backstage brawls throughout the Raw, and we were just thinking it's got to be some match where it's just chaos. There's just going to be a lot of blood, a lot of violence. There's going to be some moments where you just think, holy shit, or something great has happened, and all those chants that you get from the crowd. But I didn't really feel like it was that match that it should have been. The timing of it as well, the whole way it's been placed as a mid card. So I was just thinking, I did enjoy the match though. I think Drew looked amazing, and he did his selfie during the match like he normally does, it's just funny seeing that when he does
Such a
that.
fun tradition. It's become almost like the Kofi in the Rumble escaping elimination. Was always a topic of conversation. I feel like now at WrestleMania, it's what's Drew going to do with social media next.
But even with the story, like, they didn't get enough time to tell the story. Jacob and Drew, is just so much frustration, and it's been going on from last year when Jacob got attacked. So it's just like they didn't have enough time to do a proper whole, story where it's just Drew McIntyre does his bit and then he's pissed off and he's still trying to get the victory over Jacob. I like the fact that Jacob won because it will do wonders for him in the future now that he's being one of the biggest stars, and he's already coming after Roman. So I think it's done well for him anyway, and I believe Drew's not going to be around for a while. So it's a pretty good match to go off from as well, but I just expected a lot more from it.
To your point there of Drew potentially being gone for a little while now, I think that's to the point we've been making for weeks now of like, this is a way to write Drew off. This is a way to have something so unhinged happen from Jacob that we don't expect to see Drew again for 2-3 months perhaps. But you both said something then in your little review of that match that I think you can apply to 80% of the WrestleMania card, and that is they didn't get enough time to tell their story. And there's nothing wrong with a short match if it's done well, and boy are we going to get to a short match done perfectly in a minute. But I felt like the story that was in, like Becky and AJ Lee, I thought their match was really good, was really strong. But I think it could have done with even just 3 more minutes. I think on night 2, Sammy and Trick didn't get time to tell their story. The Demon and Dom got too much time to tell some weird version of their story. It was just, match times this year seemed all over the place. But going on from that match, as you've said, Sanjay, Jacob now steps up to, did Roman say the air is thin up here or something? And he said there's not much footing up here. This really does feel like a real acid test for Jacob as a main event player. I enjoyed him coming out, but truth be told, I think the main event segment of Raw kind of left me feeling a bit cold, kind of left me feeling a bit like okay. I was glad Jacob came. I was bored with the bloodline stuff already beforehand. Which, you're talking about one of the biggest stories that's ever been told over the past 5 years or so. But just coming back to it now just felt a bit like, well, all right, sing a different song, I guess, is how I'd put it.
I feel like we've had this discussion in the past where maybe there are people clamoring for the bloodline, but I generally feel that a lot of people aren't clamoring for the bloodline. And that is possibly because we haven't had time to forget or remember it fondly, for lack of a better term. You don't miss anything. Sorry, I've lost my words.
Well, you've been up all night watching 2 nights of WrestleMania.
I know. I don't feel like there's been enough time between the end of the bloodline stuff and now for us to sort of really start looking back at it. Immediately after, it's like we've got Bloodline 2.0. We've still got the MFTs, which are, along that same line. We've had stuff with Jay. We've had stuff with Jay and Roman. We've had stuff with Jay and Jimmy. We've had stuff with Jay and Jimmy and Roman, harkening back to October and September last year. A lot of the feuds that we've had with all of these guys and even Sammy have all featured at some point some factor of the bloodline within it. Sammy's constantly been around Jay. So we've not really been given enough time to let the bloodline be forgotten, for lack of a better term. Do I want to see a whole reunion? Probably not, if I'm being completely honest. Do I really want to see this whole family dynamic again with the Usos and Roman and now Jacob getting connected as well? Probably not. But by the same token, I feel like you kind of have to include the family when you've got Roman and Jacob going head to head anyway. So that's the kind of, it's a weird one. I don't necessarily want to see it, but I understand why we are getting it. For me personally, I feel like Jacob's lost a bit of steam. It just didn't make you go, holy shit, like it probably should have. And, we'll get on to Oba in a little while, but, the idea makes you go, ooh. And they didn't say much in that press conference. Roman didn't say much in that press conference, but it made you go, ooh. I don't get that with Jacob, which is a shame because Jacob's awesome.
I feel like with Jacob in particular, when he first turned babyface on Solo, was it Money in the Bank? I remember there being a ladder involved. I feel like it maybe was Money in the Bank. It had all the potential in the world because Jacob at that point was white hot. And then it just kind of fizzled. They kind of changed who he was a little too much in his character, which is something that they don't seem to have done, for example, with Trick Williams as they're turning him babyface. He still seems to be the cocky, arrogant high school jock that he was weeks ago. And I don't know that Jacob's momentum has ever recovered.
I feel like it did earlier this year when he returned. So having that time off.
True.
When he come back, it was fire. It was good to see him. So I don't know if that says a lot about, us as fans sort of getting excited when we haven't seen someone in a while, or whether it's just a case of absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's the words I was trying to come across earlier.
Hey, we got that.
10 minutes later.
Yeah.
But the it feels like it's petered out a little bit again, and I'm sure I'll get on to it in a little while, but I feel like it probably is connected to the fact that this feud felt like it had Cody in mind and Cody involved, and that once you sort of took him away, it kind of took a little bit away from it as well. I say that, but some of the best stuff happened after Cody left. What do I
know? Well, we're all armchair bookers here. Hey, yeah, I think if anything can rekindle this momentum, it's arguably a feud with Roman, who in the building is still mega star. And for all of you and I, Daniel, saying we're a little bit with the bloodline stuff, and I will come to you, Sanjay, in a minute, because I know that you're probably going to be the opposite end of that particular spectrum. The undeniable fact was when he met the Usos backstage and he just looked at them and went, come on then. There was a pop. there was an audible, loud pop just for Roman going, "Come on, boys," because that live crowd were like, "Oh my god, we're getting Bloodline stuff," and that's objectively there in the building, whether we're a bit over it or not.
Yeah.
Was one of the biggest fans of the Bloodline when that happened, and I think it was one of the most greatest times in wrestling history, one of the biggest factions ever. I do see where Daniel's point is, as we haven't had that time where it could be like, oh, I remember the Bloodline, and then all of a sudden the people coming back together and you're seeing it and you're thinking, oh yeah, nostalgia of time back. But I think with the Bloodline is something that is just always been there. Even before Roman Reigns came back and became the tribal chief and had the Usos with him, there was still Roman Reigns with the Usos. They used to have tag matches and six-man matches, stuff like that. So I think Bloodline is just going to be one of those very long stories. And with Jacob as well, I just think in the long run, they might even bring in MFTs, maybe have Solo turn, Jacob lead that gang, Bloodline versus Bloodline. I just think there's so much potential, but it will have to be, I think, storyline is just going to have to be something else, because we've seen so much of the Bloodline already. There needs to be something new now, a new element to it, something different. So not it's just going to be, this is the original Bloodline versus the new Bloodline. There should be a mixture or something. I think to make someone a big star, made Sami Zayn, it gave him a lot more fan base from Bloodline. It gave Solo Sikoa a bigger stage for his career, and it's done wonders for Jacob, because before Jacob coming in, everyone was getting used to him saying, I love you, Solo, and everyone was loving it. It was like the crowd was getting behind Solo and for Jacob for turning. And then as soon as that happened, everyone was like all there with Jacob. But with Jacob, I think his character when he was first introduced was something like a presence that you think, shit, that's Jacob. He's not normal. If he gets angry, he goes mad, and he ain't gonna care. He's gonna run through you. As you come a face, it's just in wrestling, it's like there always is that sort of. And I said the same thing about Rhea Ripley before she was with Io Sky. I think she was more dominant. And then when it came with Io Sky, it became more like friendly, a bit more light. And I think the same has happened with Jacob, because he's been the face now. So he's being like the good guy as well in a certain way. So it's just, it doesn't feel that dominant and that scary as Jacob Fatu once was.
It all becomes a bit fluffy, doesn't it?
I had a thought on Monday because I was sitting there watching it going, is what I think going to happen? And I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen next week. I was sitting there going, are the Usos going to turn on Roman and side with Jacob? I don't know why. I just had that thought in my head that the Usos are going to side with Jacob. Because even just the way that they were dressed, it was that sort of like, I know they'd usually wear that sort of attire anyway, but it was that sort of basketball style hoodie shirt, which, you do have, or I have seen on Jacob a few times as well. I don't know. In my mind, I'm thinking, do I need more Bloodline drama? But then I was like, well, I can kind of like the idea of Jimmy and Jay siding with Jacob. I think it would be quite an interesting spin on it.
I think we all seem to be in agreement that it's just how they tell this story going forward. It's not that we're anti-Bloodline full stop. It's just, okay, but tell us something different. Show us something different. That's what I really enjoyed about Roman Reigns over the past couple of weeks, especially that final promo he had with CM Punk before WrestleMania. I don't think I've ever seen Roman Reigns speak like that. It was excellent. It was real, and it wasn't clouded by all of this acknowledge me bravado that perhaps you could argue is the tribal chief's armor that he wears so he doesn't have to be vulnerable. But it's just like he was just getting interesting, and now we're going back to I'm just tribal chief, acknowledge me. But it's still so young, this brand new story, so we will certainly let it play out. But Daniel, you posted a video over the weekend on Saturday night of your reaction to a very, very big return as Nikki Bella wasn't cleared to compete in the women's tag team fatal four-way match, and she called an old friend, and out came Paige, and this was just lovely. Like, a really feel-good moment for someone who is still so young and has been through quite the time of it over the past 10 years even. But she is back and she's a tag team champion. I thought your video, Daniel, was lovely, so I'm going to throw to you first and just let you talk about having Paige back.
I feel like you just summed it up really well, actually. It's great to see her back. I've loved, and I've always really liked Paige. I don't know if it's because she's English. Probably is because she's English. I've got family in Norwich as well, so it might be because she's from Norwich. I'm not sure. I've always just really liked Paige. I've always just really gravitated towards her as a performer. And this was just another moment where you sort of go, oh, lovely, just so good to see her back. I'll put it back to when she first made her debut and won the title. I remember just having this massive smile. And it was just, I think, again, because she is English, there's that thing of you're just so happy for her. And it's that pride almost. And I think that's probably what it is. It's that pride in a fellow countrywoman.
She's one of our own.
Yeah, it's exactly. Drew doesn't count. He's Scottish.
he sometimes counts. It's like Andy Murray. It's like, well, sometimes.
He counts if he's against an American, but no, so it was lovely seeing her back. It's a shame they didn't do anything with her on Raw, considering I feel like that was one of the biggest moments. No, I would say it was probably the biggest moment of night one.
Certainly in terms of moment, not match, yeah.
You know, you had 2.5 hours on Raw and you couldn't fit in a little promo with Paige to say she's back. All she got was this, oh, look who's in the building, Paige is back. Unless they're going to be on SmackDown. That's the only thing I could think of.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, because they've got 3 hours to fill on SmackDown, so that's...
Yeah, no, good to see her back. Shame about the match, I should say. I was really looking forward to that match. They got less minutes than people, I think.
Yeah. In fact, they got a minute per person. They did 8 minutes. So, yeah, a minute per person in the match.
Not enough time. But I will shout this out a couple of weeks ago, and I'll do it again. All of them, bar the Bellas and Paige, strangely enough, incredible outfits. Yes. I loved the demolition callback of Nia and Lash.
That was so nice.
It was so cool. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think Charlotte Flair could just about walk with those massive butterfly wings she had. She came out and I was like, for fuck's sake, Charlotte, like you could have had like slightly smaller wings.
I wasn't sure about Alexa's outfit when I first saw it, but then when I saw how it paired with Charlotte, I went, oh, okay.
Yeah, and there was a huge Bray Wyatt tribute in there as well, because his symbol was the moth, wasn't it? So I think that was all geared towards her relationship with him, which not the most sensical pairing, I guess you could say, like, but yeah, really enjoyable. I'll circle back to seeing Paige on Raw in a minute because I did notice something actually. But Sanjay, I'll get your thoughts on her comeback first and on the tag team match itself. What did you make of it?
So I'll say with the tag team match first, and then the reason will come after, because I think the tag team match was just not what I wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to be a match where everyone gets enough time. You get some storytellings, Charlotte, Alexa, you might get a little bit of it's going to be a bit of heat between them, or they're all right. Then it would be Lash and Nia. They were doing so well. They had that momentum with this team, and it just didn't feel like they had enough to do in that match to show a little bit more of this team and efforts. And just think, with the Bellas, I didn't really want the Bellas to win the match anyway. I wanted Charlotte and Alexa to win, but my predictions was for Bayley. So when Paige came out, I was like, shit, because I thought she's in AEW, because I don't really watch AEW that much, but I remember her going to AEW, and I do like Paige. She is one of my favorites, but I was just thinking, if she was to come back, let her have a surprise entry, have a match or something. Don't just throw her into a tag team, tournament or whatever's going on. So it's just like, I would have enjoyed it more if she just came back on the Raw after WrestleMania, just come after, whatever, or just even not coming after anyone, but just come back and say, look, I'm back and I'm going to go for the championship, or I want to do this. in the business now, this is that. But going back to Raw, I would say I'm a huge fan of Sol Ruka, so I'm happy she's here.
Yeah, she was a kind of the call up that you think, yeah, about time Sol Ruka came out. She's had a few showings at different events, and yeah, had a really good showing with Liv Morgan, I thought, and on the mic as well. She didn't seem out of place. But yeah, Paige is back, and it'll be interesting to see where she lands, whether that be Raw or SmackDown, or whether she's going to do more of an AJ Lee type, more sporadic appearances. The thing I noticed about her though on Raw is that she was obviously there with Nikki and Brie and Paige both held up their titles, and Brie Bella has Bella Twins side plates on her title, and Paige doesn't have any side plates on her title. It's just fairly generic WWE side plates. And it just made me go, okay, so maybe she's not going to hold these for very long. I almost expected a bit of a callback to last year when it was, of course, Becky and Lyra that had won the tag titles, and then they lost the night after, and that was when Becky turned. I almost expected something similar to happen here with Nikki Bella, and therefore the Bellas turning on Paige immediately, because in their heel distorted mind, Paige has stolen that moment from Nikki. So I don't know whether I'm just reading too much into things, but one thing I do think, and I feel this very strongly, is that the Bellas are so heelish in their nature. Even when they're trying to be baby faces, they are heelish in their nature. I turned to my wife and said she needs to get away from the Bellas as quickly as possible, because otherwise I think they run the risk of diluting some of this like pure nostalgia and pure feel good feeling that she's back. So wouldn't surprise me if something happens on SmackDown that very quickly turns the page, so to speak, on their little tag title reign. But
No, I will say I think it would have completely changed our predictions had we known
yes,
she was involved. I feel like it was a very last minute deal. So with the plates, they probably just haven't had the time. It's a bit disappointing that, you know, outside of any tag stuff that she does, her first sort of singles outing is probably going to be against one of the Bella Twins. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it is, and we'll have to just wait and see what the next chapter of that particular story is. I thought the match of night one was Gunther and Seth Rollins. I posted a video to that effect.
Easily.
I loved this match. I thought it was great. It's telling that it was the second longest match on the card. It did nearly 18 minutes. That's enough time to tell a good story, and I think that was evident in the crowd reaction that this match got as it wore on. You know, we talked for a long time there about Jacob and Drew having such a great build-up and then being a bit on the night. This was almost the opposite of, like, we got to, what was it, a week before Mania, and oh shit, Seth and Gunther are going to have a match. Hardly any build. And it was great. It was fast, and they hit each other really hard.
It felt intense.
That's it. And even with the lack of build, I was watching it feeling like these two, like in the story of it, these two hate each other. These two can't bear that the other one is so good, and they are going hell for leather to try and prove that they are the best. It had all the intensity and all the pace that some of the other matches didn't. And I think when we talk about the other matches maybe having suffered for being cut short on time, perhaps you could argue that they didn't do themselves any favors because they didn't treat that time that they had with a great deal of intensity, maybe. I don't know if that's too harsh to say on these matches that only got 7 minutes in some cases.
No, I think it's a bit harsh. Like I'll use the Live and for Care match as an example. That was 7 minutes, but they tried doing so much in that match.
They hit each other really hard as well, yeah.
Yeah, like it was a good self-contained match, but how much can you do within 7 minutes? Unless you're coming out with a clear idea, like Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, it's really hard to have like a really phenomenal match that's that short. I don't know if you guys, there was a match last year, Ivar, and then this guy
on speed.
3 minutes, brilliant, excellent match. But they've obviously known about the time constraint and constructed a match for that in mind. Whereas with Liv and Stephanie, it feels like they've constructed a match for 15 minutes and then been told, hey, you've got 7. We're going to do it all still. So, yeah, I know, I'm jumping around a bit, but yeah, I feel like they probably got the worst of it in that regard. Whereas Gunther and Seth, I think had they not been given the time, they probably would have taken it anyway.
Yeah.
Like they're probably big enough names that they could go, stuff it. You know what? Let's just get the fine. Let's just get the slap on the wrist at the end
They
of
can
it.
beg for forgiveness rather than ask for permission. Yeah, at that level, can't they? And just go, yeah, sorry about that, but what are you going to do?
There's very few people that can do that. I feel like they're probably of the sort that could.
Yeah. The finish of the match saw Bron Breakker come back and cost Seth with a spear or two. One of them was a little, I don't know, the shot was so amazing of the drone following him down the ramp, and then he kind of like did a bit of a Jey Uso spear, dare I say? But I wouldn't say it to his face because he'd kill me. But yeah, Sanjay, are you happy to see Bron Breakker back?
Yeah, I'm happy to see him back. I actually didn't expect him to be back. I was thinking probably be Bronson Reed make his return before. So
That's right.
I'm actually glad it's Bron Breakker. But going to the match, Gunther, Seth, the Raw before, when they showed so much intensity and they were getting in each other's face, from that moment, I knew straight away that WrestleMania match is definitely going to be intense. It's definitely going to be a lot of meat slaps. And boy, was there a lot of meat slaps. It was amazing. It was just one of those matches where it's just pure wrestling. As a wrestling fan, you see a pure wrestling match of Gunther and Seth, two of the best to do it. So I was just happy with that match.
One of the clotheslines in particular made me just go, oh, because he proper wellied Seth in the chest. But
even to say, like, when you see Gunther, you expect a match like that from him. But I think with Seth Rollins, he just went toe to toe with Gunther in this. And it's like Seth Rollins matches are not normally all about the slaps and the clotheslines, but he delivered to another side I've seen of Seth Rollins, which I really love.
in his first match back in months as well, like credit
Yeah.
to him for getting in that kind of cardio shape, like let alone anything else. But yeah, it seems like Seth and Bron are going to now go into a singles feud, which I think all of us would have predicted had we known Bron was going to come back. It's certainly got a bit more spice on it on Raw. Did you see the chair shot to the back of Bron's head?
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a proper, it was just far enough up his back that I think it caught him right sort of at the top of the neck, and blood everywhere, which always helps things get a little bit nasty feeling. But yeah, we hope for this feud going forward. It should be a good one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they've been lucky. This is a bit of a lifeline for the Vision. And yeah, I think having the Street Profits back as well to go against Austin and Logan, it kind of feels fresh all around the Vision at the moment. Which
Yes.
You asked me that 2-3 months ago when Bron and Bronson were getting injured, I'd be going, move on. But I feel like they might have just got a really big lifeline.
As you've mentioned with the Street Profits coming back, so great to see them back. Lovely pop that they got. They're looking great shape. I feel like they'll be coming back with a chip on their shoulder with something to prove, and putting them into this top, as far as tag team wrestling goes, top level match with the Vision for the next few weeks is a much better use of the Street Profits than them just suddenly reappearing in the SmackDown tag division with everybody else one week.
I feel like you can do that because Bianca's not there though. Like, because Bianca's not going to be traveling around with SmackDown, it's like, why don't we use the Profits on Raw? You get the added benefit of being able to separate the Usos from the Vision and the tag ranks as well, just that little bit longer. So there's loads of positives from bringing them back. So yeah, that whole scene around the Vision at the moment is looking really good.
Certainly much better, as you said, Daniel, much better than it was a few weeks ago when I think both of us called for them to just call it a day.
Yeah.
A lovely moment with Bianca Belair. That was just so touching.
Yeah.
Gutted that we won't see her because it's already been a year, but real life is more important. So
I mean, she's had a lot of time on her hands. We know that she designs her outfits. My God, I'm looking at it just because my wife had woken up just to grab a cup of tea at that point, and even she's just sitting there like drooling over her. Was it a dress? I don't know, or a coat or something. It
Yeah,
just looked incredible. A big congratulations to them both.
absolutely. Is there anything else from night one you guys want to touch on before we finish off night two? I think it's telling, actually, having said that, we haven't spoken about Cody and Randy at all. Do we have to? Do we want to?
The match was fine. I expect a lot better from a main event of Mania. I felt like this was done in a way so that you're kind of forced to not bring McAfee back for a little bit longer. Like even McAfee will, like if there's any sort of, oh, we should bring McAfee back, sort of sit there and go, well, hold on, it's a bit weird because they've wrote me off and the connection's gone and, you know, I'm not connected with Orton anymore. I'm kind of just, at this stage, I'm glad to see the back of him and that and it. Orton brought the punt back. That should have been done on SmackDown. That was it, really. Again, we said this last week, and I've just reiterated this so much. I think separating Cody from Drew and Jacob was a bad move. Having the two matches clearly didn't work in the end. They were big matches, sure, but I feel like the four of them could have had an amazing main event that was worthy of a main event of Mania, and we didn't get that.
The match reached the level of fine, I think. By the end, I was like, fine. But I could have done without the first 10, 11 minutes at all, which reminded me too much of Cena and Cody from the year before, which was just slow and bogged down in I'm a heel now, so we're going to do heel slowness. Got a bit better. The McAfee stuff was just... what was the point in all of that? And I know we've all been feeling that since the moment it was revealed. But it felt even like the booking of the match was just like, oh, I don't know, Jelly Roll puts him through a table or something, and then he comes back at the end and gets RKO'd with a shrug. Like, I don't know.
It feels like something's been done to write him off that he can't come back. Again,
Well, he's come out now, I think, on his Pat McAfee show and basically said he's done. He's sort of and done the biggest backtrack, like from the story that he was telling us about Randy's going to save the business, and then he went, "Oh, actually, it turns out it didn't need saving." So I think he actually said that on his show, which is just, yeah. Let's draw a line under that whole sorry affair.
I think the biggest surprise is that Cody retained. I was like, oh, okay.
That was one that all three of us, I think, had pretty much nailed on that Randy was gonna take the title.
That was a nice surprise.
I wonder if, because I did hear one or two reports before WrestleMania aired that he's maybe suffering legit with some sort of back injury. Maybe they've accentuated that to tell the story that they did on Saturday. Maybe we won't see Orton for a little while now, and they'll sort of restart this chase for number 15 when he's back. I don't know, but yeah, Sanjay, I know you're probably the biggest Orton-specific fan of the three of us. How did Saturday night go for you in that regard?
When I said that night one didn't feel like WrestleMania, that main event didn't feel like a main event. The match didn't feel like a storytelling match. There were some parts of the match where I was looking at my phone, was just scrolling through stuff. The whole Pat McAfee coming over and shitting over this whole feud from the start, it just made me confused. I didn't understand what's going on. What is this supposed to be about? The ending of the match as well. It's just, I didn't really enjoy it. I'll be honest, I didn't really enjoy it at all. It's just, I wanted to see it because the way they done this didn't make sense in the start. Why would you bring out Pat McAfee? Why would you do all this nonsense for no reason? Absolute no reason. There was not. It didn't bring anything to the table. And then you bring in Jelly Roll. It's just like the WrestleMania you was talking about with Cody Rhodes and John Cena. The match was slow. It was weird. And then you having Travis Scott and all this just, it wasn't what we wanted. If it was Cody versus Randy Orton and you telling me this as in this is going to be a feud coming up, and then you can think, oh yeah, legacy, there's so much history, there's mentor, there's so much they can do with this, there's potential for a huge match at WrestleMania, but the way they done it it's just like, meh. I watched it, yeah, all right, Cody Rhodes won, yeah, cool. like 15. Even if Randy Orton won his 15th belt, it doesn't feel like, oh yes, Randy Orton's done it. 15. No, it's just what a shit match. What a crap feud. I mean, what could you expect from it? It's just whoever wins. It's just all right. On to night 2. We knew that one was going to be better anyway.
Yeah, I think we all predicted it as such, and thank goodness night 2 did come and save us, basically. But yeah, storyline wise, you just talked about it all there, Sanjay, like the legacy stuff, the 20 years of Randy Orton's career. And to use a football analogy, like they had an open goal story wise to just tell something really simple with bucket loads of history, and they've just totally shit the bed. Cody's eye looked a proper state, didn't it?
It looked so bad. Even CM Punk was looking at it like, what the hell's happening?
It was like, what's that? I couldn't tell when it happened either. I thought it was the punt, but then I think actually no, Cody was busted pretty wide open before that. I think there was a punch or something. Yeah.
Even with the punt, why bring it in the match right at the end? It's just so pointless.
Well, after the match, you've done the big finish, and then everyone goes, "Now give me the belt," and here's a punt, and
it's just left me confused. I'm like, what's the point of all
that's the
this?
word. Yeah, it was so confusing, and I think, yeah, they weren't helped at all by the McAfee inclusion. But even if you take McAfee out of the thing completely, the story of the match they told was just really confusing. I liked, to give it some praise, I liked that Cody found a bit more of an edge, like and leaned into that. Okay, you're going to boo me, so okay, I'm going to be a bit more heelish, and I'm going to do the body part stomps that Orton used to do. I thought there was one or two really nice touches, but they were so so insignificant compared to the overall meh of that match. But yeah, night 2 started with my favourite moment of the weekend, like Obafemi beating Brock Lesnar in just under 5 minutes. I would not have changed a single thing about that match. I thought it was note perfect. I pitched on our podcast before Mania the idea of Obafemi kicking out a 1 from an F5. Well, they went one further on that. I went, no, he's just going to stand right up and go, yeah, that's your best shot. I absolutely loved it. And they have a megastar in Obafemi. Came out and kicked off Raw in his suit and said, your ruler has arrived. And then that was all he said. Reminded me in that sense of when Roman Reigns beat The Undertaker and he came out and kicked off the Raw afterwards and just said, this is my yard now. I was like, oh, this Obafemi is just, I can't get enough of him. I hope they know what they've got in him. It seems like they do. But yeah, I absolutely adored this match.
Exactly what it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Brock looked great. Oba looked phenomenal. And the length was good. We didn't expect it to be a 20-minute Broadway or an hour. It was perfect. It was a 5 to 7 minute match. I predicted Brock, but I think it was the right shout to have Oba go over without doubt.
Given the way that the post match went, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like now it's just up and up from here. And I think that you could gently pencil in Oba for next year's Mania.
Yes.
Especially with the post show, him sort of calling out Roman Reigns, and then just how he, really simple, but just how he come across as a star on Raw the next night. I feel like with Oba, it might be in their interest to not use him in week-to-week programs now. Like, he's already at this level that who do you pair him with? Like, I can't think of anyone. The only person that he's going to really go for that makes sense is Roman, but that's a Mania money match. Maybe that's a SummerSlam match up there. I don't know. You have to be really mindful about who you pair him with. But yeah, coming off the back of Mania, I don't think there's anyone hotter, and rightly so.
And what did you make of Brock post-match retiring?
Wait and see. I don't feel like that is the end of Brock. I felt like it was his final Mania match, but I don't think it's his final match. I could be wrong. from everything that you hear about Brock Lesnar, I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes, "Nah, I'm done.
Done.
So,
Yeah.
gonna go back to my farm."
You wonder as well whether, like, I saw one or two rumors, as rumors all often fly at this time of year, especially, that Brock doing this in the ring was some kind of signal to the back of, this is a shoot, I'm doing this. Like, this isn't me telling a story, I'm done, and taking it. But again, that could be reading too much into things, or maybe he did that knowing that the internet would go crazy over it. But it's too coincidental for me that SummerSlam is in Minneapolis and Gunther is owed a favor by Paul Heyman. It just seems to me like that makes a lot of sense, of Gunther saying to Heyman, well, you owe me a favor. Here's my favor. Go and get him. Like, I don't care what you have to do. Go and get him. And quite how storyline wise this retired lumberjack Brock Lesnar is convinced to come back and go one more round with Gunther, I don't know, but I'm certainly intrigued.
I will say quickly on that favor thing. As soon as he said, "Oh, now I owe you a favor," I just sort of cringed a little bit. It was like, "Oh, really? Are we going back to this again?" A Paul Heyman favors like the US title. It's like, probably holds as much prestige.
As long as they don't lean too heavily on it, like they did with the triple threat last year, I don't mind it. It's Gunther, so I'll give it a bit of a pass. But yeah, Sanjay, how was the opener for night 2 for you?
As everyone expected it. It was literally the banger. It was the best match of WrestleMania for me, even better than Roman and Punk, because
Wow.
in its
I would
own way,
agree.
it's like, yeah, in its own way, because the story of Roman and Punk, it was a story, it was a wrestling match. With Brock, it's going to be one of those things where it's just Brock stuff. I'm glad to see him, and I think the entrance itself was just amazing. Oba and Brock, both of their entrances so powerful, and just seeing them both in the ring, it's just crazy. The crowd was going mad, and the hits they've taken, it was good. Suplex, he's got suplexes. Oba's taking them nicely, and he comes back up really strong, and Brock showing that face of, what the hell do I need to do to put this man down? Like, he's got that look, and it's just the way he's done it for Oba. He's just made Oba one of the biggest beasts ever to ever come into wrestling. Someone to beat Brock Lesnar like that in that way, and the match itself was great. The timing was good. We know that timing kind of suits for that story, but it just caught me off guard, the ending. I did not expect Brock to take his gloves off, put his shoes down. It's just kind of made me think, wait, maybe because, as I did say, he was announced for Raw. So I was thinking that
That's
this
right,
feud might
yeah.
be on. Not going to lie, it kind of took me off guard. And I kind of felt so emotional at the time because I love Brock Lesnar and I kind of miss him. I was thinking we still have time till SummerSlam. So I had it in mind, this ain't going to be the
You
end. And
weren't
that's
ready
why
to
I
say
predicted.
goodbye yet.
No, I wasn't. And I was just cool. I was just thinking, oh, what the hell, man? I was just quiet for the whole segment. As soon as it was done, I was just sitting there quiet, just thinking, what is, no, can't happen right now. It's just not ready for it.
I think that reaction was evident in the stadium, where the moment he loosened one glove, you just heard this like, oh, go round this massive crowd. Yeah, awesome moment. I really liked that Oba. It wasn't as simple as he no-sold the F5, because he did sell it. He stood up like that hurt. He didn't just go, huh, I'm a monster. That didn't do anything. I really liked that subtlety to his selling, because I think in a bygone era, that might have just been as simple as no stand up and completely no sell it. I like that he didn't. Also, just had the random thought of you saying, Sanjay, about Brock there, thinking, what have I got to do to beat this man? Brock Lesnar thought about picking up the steps, but he didn't use the steps. Do you know why? Because that would be a flipping disqualification, wouldn't it? Brock is smarter than Roman Reigns. You heard it here first. I could talk about that match. It was only 5 minutes, so yeah, I could talk about it forever, but we must move on. A couple of other things we haven't covered from night 2 at all. I thought the ladder match was really fun. I thought it was spot fest, and I mean that in the best sense of the word. Yeah, moment after moment after moment. That destroyer to JD McDonough. I loved the call. I don't know whether it was Wade Barrett or Michael Cole. They just went, JD's dead. That's it. He's dead.
JD had a great match. I thought JD might, I don't know, JD and Javon actually, but I'd probably pick JD. I think JD was probably, for me, the MVP. I thought it was a great match. What a fun way to keep Mania going.
I don't know why producers of wrestling matches, though, don't have on their, when they're doing a big Mania match, why one of the things on their checklist isn't ask people what they're wearing and check what gear ideas they've got. Because Rey Mysterio and Penta looked almost identical. And I thought, I can tell as a TV viewer watching on Netflix, I can tell. But you've got people there who have paid, I don't know, $1,000 to sit in the gods, and they're going to be watching two red and black shapes in masks. And I just thought I didn't see why it's not more thought of more often, because it's not the first time that sort of gear issue has come up. And I know that's probably me just being a pedantic so-and-so, but it did kind of just irk me a little bit. I'll move on. It's fine. I'll get over it.
Yeah, there were some great spots in that match. I mean, you can't really go through them all. I really like the West Coast pop onto Rusev.
Yes.
Like such a simple idea, but it's like I don't think I've seen that, and I was like, oh, cool.
And was that from either Penta or Dragon Lee? He kind of vaulted over him. Yeah, really
Dragon
nice.
Lee again, man. Dragon Lee, just every time he's in the ring at the moment, I'm just getting impressed. Honestly, I don't think any guy in that ladder match had a bad showing. That's how much I rated it. And I think you could easily put it up there with some of the best Money in the Bank matches. I really liked it, especially after the dire sort of night one. You had Ober and Brock, and then you had this ladder match. It was just like, oh man, feels like Mania again.
That's exactly the phrase I was about to use, because Sanjay, you mentioned earlier that night one just didn't feel like it, and the opening to night two was just like, here it is.
It was one of those matches where you don't mind who wins, because you're just enjoying the match so much. You think, you know what, he's done good. It's like, you know what, I don't care who wins this match. It's just one of those matches to enjoy.
For my own subjective take, I was so invested in Ober and Brock. I needed Ober to win that match, even though I had agreed with you both on the weekly pod about how Ober isn't destroyed by a loss here, but I just really, really wanted him to win. And so once Ober had won in the brilliant way he had, I kind of breathed out, and the rest of night two was just like, this is great. I don't really care who wins what, in a good way. I'm just happy to see what occurs. We've gone pretty long already, but is there anything else from night two that we haven't covered already that you want to just bring attention to, or anything you want to get off your chest?
Two things. One, I was a costume thing with me, but Trick's train I thought was so cool. I was expecting him to do something on it, but like I really liked it.
It was ludicrous.
It was, but for Trick Williams, I was like, that's perfect. And I had this picture in the back of my mind of Stephanie Vicaire sitting there going, what the fuck? She's probably spent ages designing hers to match her outfit, and then he's just had a plain white one, but because it's so long, that's the train everyone's going to remember.
Yeah.
And then quickly, the Rhea and Jade match. I thought Jade looked great, actually.
I think this was my favourite Jade match by some distance. I think
probably mine as well, particularly in WWE. I thought she had a really good showing. I thought Rhea looked good as well. It was probably the weakest Rhea match on Mania by some margin. I don't think there's been many bad ones.
Right. She's got such a high bar when it comes to that, hasn't she? And I think this is maybe a match that could have done with another minute or two, maybe. But
as we discussed, like, you could have easily shaved off 8 minutes of Finn and Dom, and you could have easily tacked that on to Jade and Rhea, and I feel like it would have made the world of difference.
To just touch on what you've just called up there with Finn and Dom, I was pretty disappointed with this. Like, I really like the Demon. I really love Finn Balor, but this just didn't land for me. I liked the front part of his face and body paint. Quite why he had the word demon across his back like a football player, I don't really know. And it was all just very, if I can just use a noise rather than a word. And I just thought, it just didn't hit for me. And then for him to have a back and forth kind of 50-50 match with Dominic, I just thought this isn't what this needed to be. And I don't know if I care to see the demon again now.
I also don't know why they're continuing it. He's just beating him at Mania. Like,
Yeah.
what else is there to do? You know, I think it would have been nice to have him go into a feud with JD. Just like that. I don't know if that's too similar to the Bloodline stuff.
I did think it was telling that, like, on Raw, they gave JD a pre-taped interview and they gave Finn a pre-taped thing. And I said to my wife, I was like, they've given Finn and JD in a kind of throwaway Raw match almost as much storyline attention as they did for Finn and Dom. Because after the initial Finn's kicked out, they did hardly anything leading up to the Mania match. But yeah, a bit disappointing. All in all, I came away from WrestleMania having enjoyed myself, and that's the main thing. We haven't talked about call-ups or anything, but I think there's time for us to do that perhaps next week.
Yeah, I think as Sanjay alluded to, I'm excited by the Sol Ruka call-up. Ethan Page as well, I think, is a really smart call-up, and he looked great. And then Joe Hendry next week. I'm sure we'll get into it more next week.
And Raw, just very quickly, was the first week in as long as I can remember that we didn't see Danhausen at all.
Oh yeah.
Are they now? I wonder if Joe Hendry's coming on to be the comedy guy on Raw. Maybe Danhausen becomes SmackDown. I don't know, but we shall see. Shall we have a quiz?
Sounds good.
So Sanjay is going to set a question for Daniel to try and knock me off my perch as the quiz champion. Sanjay, what have you got for us this week?
So it's Raw after WrestleMania. Question is basically, name me all the wrestlers, males and females, who came back on a Raw after WrestleMania. So it could be back from an injury, it could be a debut, but made a return on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania.
Oh.
Okay. We can start with this week, right? So I can say Sol Ruka.
I didn't really include this week.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'll go. Brock Lesnar.
Correct. That was my favorite return of all time.
Sheamus.
Yep.
Well, you said that quick. That makes me think you've got lots in the chamber there, Daniel.
That's like probably the only one I know.
Another one actually that we referenced on this pod, Paige.
That's right.
Dude, I want to say like, funny feeling it's like a Rusev or an Alberto Del Rio. I just can't picture it for some reason. An injury or a return. How many people are there in total, out of curiosity?
I've got 40 numbers here.
40? So injury or return?
So coming back. So it could be coming back from an injury, or it could be a debut, or it could be,
At debuts as well. Okay. Okay, in which case I will go Rhea Ripley.
Don't have on my list, but let me just double check that one, because I don't want anyone saying.
I'm not convinced by that. You're going to say a few, and I'm going to go.
I've got, just while Sanjay's checking that, I've got a couple in mind, but knowing what you're like, Daniel, because the couple I've got in mind are tag teams, and I'm just like, if I say one, he's going to say the other.
So Rhea Ripley is not on my list.
For some reason I had that feeling that she sort of like come back or come up with a Judgment Day, but I don't know. You'd think it'd be something that I remember, but maybe is Jericho on your list?
Chris Jericho is on my list.
Yeah, that was the other one that I was definitely thinking. I should have said Jericho.
Go on then, Iain, you want to take it away?
That's too late. Ian's won.
I could just show off. I could just do a couple of keepy uppies, Enzo and Cass.
That's right.
Was one tag team. The Revival was another tag team I had in my mind.
Right.
And one I was going to just pluck from the depths, I don't know how far back your list goes. Did Mankind debut on the Raw after WrestleMania? I don't know. As I say, I don't know if your list goes like that's kind of before Raw after WrestleMania was a thing, but I've got a feeling that Mankind was like a post WrestleMania thing.
I don't have Mankind on my list, but that could be a tricky one because he could come back as Foley or Mankind or.
True.
I think it might be to what you said though. Like they didn't really consider them Raw after Manias in
Right.
the modern sense. The
So
only other one I thought of was the Undertaker.
Undertaker is one.
See, I knew a couple.
Hey.
I've got on my list Triple H, Goldberg, The Undertaker, The Rock,
Goldberg.
John
I was
Cena, Roman
thinking The
Reigns,
Rock as well.
Batista, Edge, Rob Van Dam, Randy Orton, Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Elias, Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, got Braun Breaker, got Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, Bayley, Naomi, Nia Jax, Oscar, Lita, Trish Stratus. Yeah, quite a few names.
It's like a who's who of wrestling, bar Rhea Ripley.
Pretty much. Well, that's me retaining again for another week. I'm just going to ask. I don't know this for sure, Daniel, but you were obviously the first quiz champion. Am I now on a longer streak than you ever managed?
No,
Are we there yet? No, not yet.
no, because there's been question marks over your reign.
Oh, come off it. Well, we shall see. And I'll just mention that this is the first week in a while that I haven't said the word Arsenal to you, and I think it's because I was being kind.
don't.
But,
After WrestleMania night 1 and then getting that match on Sunday, it was not a nice 24
of course,
hours
because
or
you
so.
had that before you got night 2, you had night 1 and then
Yeah.
Arsenal City.
Night 2
Wow.
of WrestleMania put me in a good mood after Arsenal and City, let's put it that way.
I'm not surprised. Wow. Well, boys, a pleasure as always. We have just gone very long reviewing all our favourite moments from WrestleMania 42. But please keep following us on Facebook now. You can find us on Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube, on all the social media at Smark-Casual Pod. And we will be back next week. But until then, thank you so much, Sanjay.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhea Ripley. And we will see you soon. Bye-bye.